guys. Thanks for being here. We should wait for a minute for people to join us. So we can start then?
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks. All right, I think I should still say cool hat, Billy.
Thank you, mate. You know me, I've got a closet full of them.
Yeah, I've seen them, you know, last three and a half years almost.
Yeah, actually, my 3-year-old son now wears all my hats, so I have competition.
So I'm not sure if Bharat knows, but Billy and I used to work together in our last company.
Okay.
That's where Apurva and Billy got connected over a video call, and they had a long chat about marketing and branding and you know, promoting a brand across APAC, India, globally.
Yeah, it was probably the most insightful interview I did. So thank you.
I think the initiative was 50 marketers
In 50 days.
in 50 days. I hope you covered all 50.
I did. It was exhausting, but we had it, mate.
Nice. Great. All right. So I think we should start, considering everyone has given their valuable time over a weekday. So appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. We hope it's a good time investment for all of us. For me, I'm very sure about it. I keep learning from these guys anyway. But quick background about how it started. So what we are planning to do here is this will be a series of talk shows. Let me not call it a webinar because there are thousands of webinars out there, but we want to keep it. The idea was that I was having a chat with Apurva one day, and we talked about that there is a lot of content being discussed about marketing, about marketers, about branding, and on LinkedIn, on Twitter, a lot of talk shows, webinars, content, but not much around enterprise sales. Let me put it that way. So then we decided, why not we get up ourselves and just do it. So that's how the idea came to us. And then we immediately reached out to Billy and Bharat. Now, what we have today on the panel is 3 sales leaders from very different regions. So Apurva lives in Delhi, Bharat lives in Bangalore, Billy lives in Melbourne. They have a quite similar background working with enterprise clients, but very different way of looking at things, and which is why we thought it would be a great idea to have a mixed panel. What I would recommend is all of you on this call today, whoever wants to connect with them directly, please feel free to do so on LinkedIn and Twitter. They're quite active on social media. They're quite open, and they are really good mentors if you can reach out to them in the right way. They would be always willing to help. The format of today's chat is, you guys can post your questions on the chat box, and what we'll do towards the end of the talk show, about 15 minutes, we would love to take up the questions. So that's how it will be. Now, pleasure to have them here. Welcome on board. Moving on to you, Apurva, we would love to hear a quick intro about you, and then we'll move to Billy.
Hi everyone, to all our audience logging in from around the world. This is Apurva Chamadia. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at RateGain. It's one of the top software as a service firms in the world focused on travel and hospitality. And we focus on 3 things. We use ML, AI, and data sciences to do pricing recommendations. So if you see the price of that last seat change, you know it's us. Second thing we do is distribution for rates and inventory globally. And third thing is we do a lot of digital marketing, programmatic marketing for luxury hotels. Pleasure to be here, and thank you, Vijayan, for this fantastic initiative. Looking forward to talking to you, Billy and Bharat.
Thank you, Apurv. Thanks. Uh, Billy, over to
Yes,
you.
thank you, mate. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Vijay. My name is Billy Louisu. I am the Vice President of Go-to-Market at Cheetah Digital. I fell into sales. Let's be completely honest. I'm a designer and marketer by trade, and I pride myself in solving customer problems and being a consultant. At the heart, Cheetah Digital is the market leader in messaging solutions and loyalty solutions. And we help all our clients, whether it be an acquisition strategy all the way through to consumer loyalty. So our goal is to help companies get the most out of their data. In a time like today, I think it's quite an important one that we all need to try and solve and do a better job at. So thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Thanks, Billy. Look forward. Bharat.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Thank you so much, Vijayant, for having me here. I am the founder of Live the Sport Life. It's a sports management firm based out of Bangalore. We work exclusively with a particular kabaddi franchise called as Bengaluru Bulls. We work very closely with MS Dhoni on various projects. I've been in the sports industry for over 15 years, and I've actually worked with various Indian cricketers and trained them in my previous stint as the coach of National Cricket Academy. Great learning from both Apurva and Billy, and look forward to chatting with you guys.
Thanks, Bharat. Do you miss Bangalore traffic?
Never.
All right. Yeah, I'm sure it's a good change for all of us. It feels good to be wearing a formal t-shirt and a watch today. So thanks to you guys. I also shaved. Yeah. All right. So now we'll a very interesting survey that I did on LinkedIn with my connections. And it was more about asking the sales reps and the sales managers and the sales leaders about what do they feel about their prospects, their sales pipeline, what is the right approach? As we expected, 65% of the audience said that they would rather invest time in understanding the client's business goal. We are in a situation which is very different. Nobody anticipated back in February. None of us knew this is going to happen. So things have changed. I'm sure our sales strategy would have also changed. As sales leaders, we need to be flexible, but none of us would have expected that we need this flexibility as much as we need it now. Also in as little time as we got. There was no heads up. It just came to us. And Apurva, your set of clients, they are like doing zero business almost. You work very closely with the hospitality industry and hotels, airlines, booking sites. Now, what is the right sales approach that you feel for? You could have a large sales team, but what is the right sales approach that you would take as a sales leader and you would advise to everyone?
Thank you, Vijay. So our industry is almost like the ground zero for COVID because travel and hospitality industry in the world. That said, I am very, very excited about the possibilities this whole crisis opens up to us. And I've been telling my sales team that never let a good crisis go wasted. So we sell, market, and resell in more than 100 countries globally, while on-ground sales teams are only in 15, 16 countries. And traditional enterprise sales, B2B sales has always been about going, meeting people at trade shows, events, doing in-person calls. And hospitality especially is an industry where I always say it's more about a hug than a handshake. So it's a very, very relationship-driven industry where people love having a glass of wine with you, knowing you over years, and that's what results in buying. So when this crisis started unfolding, frankly, it was a massive shock to the whole industry and to us at RateGain. But since then, I think we've really figured out a model where we are, trying to add value to the community. And I've been telling my team that don't sell, add value. forget that you're salespeople. You're now a value-added manager. And it's all about how do you create value for the community and how do you show empathy to customers and provide connections to them. A lot of our customers are losing their jobs. So how can you connect them to other people who can help them find jobs? We launched an initiative called Better Tomorrow, where all of us, volunteered whatever expertise we had to hotels which were shut or not doing well. And we said, online, you can just use this link to book a 1-hour slot with us. And before that, answer these questions and we will do free consulting to help you recover. So we offered between, 30, 40 of us, more than 1,000 hours of free consulting. And I think we're creating a lot of goodwill for RateGain as a company and us individually, which is going to really, really help us as the market starts recovering. So this is not the time to sell. This is the time to empathize, connect, build relationships, add value, and sales is automatically going to happen.
Quite interesting. You mentioned this is not the time to sell. We have a question around that, and we'll come to that because that's the kind of question our participants and everyone out there would love to hear. I mean, if being a sales professional myself, this is something that I would love to hear from all of you. Right. So, Bharat, you have, I'm sure you would have a very different sales approach in today's times. And, I'm sure MS Dhoni would be pressurizing you to get more deals, but how do you deal with it?
One is categorization of, let's say, growth industries and probably forecast ourselves in looking at which are the industries which are looking at, let's say, growth in the coming few quarters and years. That would be one aspect of it. And two, as I told you earlier, there are other verticals to the MS Dhoni project. Apart from that, we work with various Indian cricketers as well. So we recently cracked an endorsement contract for Mr. Rohit Sharma and during COVID times. So it can be an opportunity to increase the pitch from our side and probably go after industries which actually are looking at growth. There are several categories of industries which are looking at growth. So let's focus on that. And the second aspect is, of course, relationship selling. There are various ways in terms of, you could say, manage the client, especially IPL being a speculative subject right now. So that could be one of the ways to actually engage with the client on one side and understand the client's budgets, needs, and probably accommodate certain digital aspects of it and things like that, so that the client can do certain things with limited budget and probably he would have forecasted, to say, lesser top lines.
So that means right prospecting, categorizing your possible clients, and then understanding their immediate requirements. So a short-term approach versus a long-term approach can be different, but we need to have both in place because Apurva looked like he focused on a long-term approach, mid to long-term, because of the nature of the prospects or the industry that they work with. And for you, it's both.
Yes.
Billy, are we in the same boat, or are we in the same storm together? I mean, what is it?
Yeah, mate, probably the same storm, different boat. I'd say, look, I think from what the two have explained, I'm in a very similar camp, right? We, as sales leaders, your number, your budget, or your quota doesn't change; it stays, and you're still trying to be effective in what is a very tough climate. So being empathetic, like Apurva said, is very important. I look at it as two things. One, the right sales approach, you should be able to answer, why should I buy now? And what is the buying process? If I say, why should I buy now? Yeah, I think finding the territories that have not been affected in this climate is a short-term approach. You look at FMCG or CPG, they're making record sales. So why, they've got more eyeballs than they've ever had before. So why would you not look at an acquisition and data strategy to communicate with your customers? they're never going to have peaks like this again. So we've tried to be very methodical in our approach. So we've looked at territories which are thriving that we can still have a communication with in the short term. And we've altered our buying process so it's very much a digital and online experience. So a lot of businesses look at the sales funnel and you think of awareness, consideration, purchase, and use. It's the same funnel. It's just that the first three phases are digital, right? So you have to figure out how to build utility to get customers or consumers to still engage with your brand. And then when you look at the other side of it, when you look at the long-term approach in sales, like you still want to build relationships. You still want to stay true to your values. You still want to make sure that you're communicating with marketers who may be unemployed, but still want to be educated on latest technology, latest marketing trends. So we're running webinars, and our webinars is not directed at short-term revenue. It's long-term revenue. It's more about keeping people engaged for when they do find that right job, that they consider Cheetah as a potential partner. So yeah, I think you've got to be pretty methodical in the approach, but we're seeing a lot more quality of opportunities, maybe not as much quantity.
Right. Good insights. I truly believe in everything that you just said. Sometimes it's all about implementing them in the right way, and also about the priority. But I think pretty much they're the very same priority for all of us as sales leaders. So thanks for that. Now, Billy, how do you? You mentioned webinars and a lot of content out there, but still anything else that you currently think of doing for your sales pipeline, your prospects? How do you keep them engaged? How would you want your sales team to keep them engaged? So it could be any specific. Of course, I don't want you to share your secret sales strategy or marketing
secret sauce.
Yeah.
Look. I'm a consultant, and I never really truly believe that selling is the right approach either. So I'm always about adding value, and it's working at value first. I'm pretty sure you guys understand that too. So in today's market, where it's all about education, we know the problems are being amplified under the current climate. So where these webinars that we're running are about how do you identify loyal customers, how do you acquire first-party data, but we're donating dollars that people attending to COVID relief. So we raised $1,200 in our last webinar. We look at running about the same in our next webinar, so $20 per attendee, and we're giving it to these relief funds. So there's also there's a cause behind what we're doing, but it's all very educational, right? We're trying to guide people through this ambiguity. Other things that we're doing is, we're still sending out ABMs. So ABMs are account-based marketing strategies. So we have clients who are working from home with 3 crazy kids, right? Like, it's hard. It's not as easy. It's not as effective as tapping your colleague on the shoulder and getting work done. So we're sending them packs. We're sending them packs to people's homes, audiobooks, wine, things to keep stress-free. We're very much still trying to, while we're educating, we're still trying to build those real relationships through just ABM plays.
Very cool. Thanks, Billy. Bharat, what about you? How do you keep them engaged?
Basically pick up, usually in sports, it's the promoters, the chairmen, the CEOs who basically A, engage, and B, actually look at closing the entire deal. So we basically, we take phone calls. Probably we have increased the number of phone calls during this period, unlike other people, and just listen and probably engage with them regarding IPL, because it's a very speculative game that IPL is playing, whether it's happening in India, or whether it's happening with the crowds, or whether it's happening in a different country. So we basically keep them engaged, and in the middle of the phone call, they usually tend to have some requirements, or whether they already have a brand ambassador and they would like to legitimize it by utilizing them across various geographies. So these sort of free consulting we tend to give so that they don't increase the investments in a brand ambassador, but utilize the brand ambassador probably in the digital content and these sort of things. We suggest them to increase the spending on, let's say, digital. So that is what we are doing as of now.
So then why don't you tell us, is IPL happening this year or not?
I have no idea.
Okay. You wanted to say something more, but we'll keep it under the closet for now. Right. Apurva, for you, I can imagine it must be a very different, difficult initially, but everyone accepted the way it is. So now it's a different time period altogether. What about you? I mean, considering your clients or your prospects would be under a lot of stress. So how do you deal with how would you guide your team to keep them engaged?
What I've been telling the team is, usually in a good time, you monitor things like what is the pipeline creation, what are the various stages, what is the time taken to close a deal and stuff like that. I think in the very short term for the next 2-3 months, we've changed the things we are focusing on and the metrics we are measuring. So the new metrics which I'm very focused on, what are the new conversations we are starting? How many clients we are engaging with at a C-level on a weekly basis, either through marketing, like inviting them to be a webinar panelist, or getting them to join, us on industry initiatives, research papers, white papers. And personally, I have been, and all my sales leaders have been reaching out to a lot of colleagues in the industry. And we don't call them customers now, we call them colleagues, because we like to think we are all in the same boat, and that boat is business is down. So I think COVID has been a great leveling ground. And I think it has allowed us to connect with customers in an amazing fashion, because we've been able to get calls with everybody who's at home and is at C-level far more easily than in normal times. Enough to offer suggestions on what are they doing in their business, how are they changing, what can others learn from them. And that's allowed us to connect with them on a far, far deeper fashion. So the conversations I've been having with my team is, what can we do to understand the new normal? So, and our marketing team has been doing a great job working with sales leaders on the ground to create a common understanding in the industry. What does the new normal mean? And then what are the recovery strategies? So for hotels, we've published a playbook on how can social media help you recover from this crisis, and what are the strategies you can follow. So these white papers, playbooks are really, really helping us a lot in getting traction. And there were also questions around, should we reset the targets? But what use will target setting have if every week is new and every month is new? You're never going to get it right. So we finally told the people that we will set targets, but every month we will have a very open and honest conversation that do the targets need to go up, go down, or remain the same. Because as the economy starts recovering and hotels and airlines start opening up again, the targets might need to go up. So very, very interesting phase. New set of challenges for us as sales leaders, including how do you keep the team motivated? We as salespeople love to go out, meet customers, share a drink, play a round of golf. And suddenly, for the last 3 months, we are all spending all the time on Zoom. So how do you keep the team motivated? And we've been having a lot of regular Zoom calls between teams, but also, fun calls on Fridays. So every Friday evening, the whole sales team opens a bottle of beer or a glass of wine and gets on Zoom. We play some music. We call one of our in-house guys who plays as the DJ, and we call it a $0 call. So we don't talk shop, but just, connect with each of us as human beings. That's also helping a lot.
Nice. I'm already under pressure. My team would be thinking about it, because so far we've been having our calls over coffee. Yeah. Right. Okay. Thanks, Apurv. So then another question this leads to another question. We are all doing a lot of things. We're trying to keep our customers and prospects engaged in our own way, right? I mean, everyone has their own signature style. But do you also think that we should also take a pause? Like, is it too late now? We should get back to normal? Like, when is the right time for a sales rep? And this is specifically for a sales rep. Somebody who has about 15 good prospects in the pipeline, and stage 2, 4, 6, there is an equal distribution, and one deal is about to be closed. How much to chase somebody? When to take a pause? And Apurva, if you want to take that up first. And then I'll move to Billy, because Billy has a smile already. Looks like his favorite question.
Look,
Sorry, Billy.
Kick it off, man. I can kick it off.
Yeah.
Look,
yes.
We ran our webinar for loyalty. Would have been 2 months ago, or about 2 months ago, and we had 160 people register, and we had a very good attendee base. And when you finish those webinars, typically what you do is you look at who attended, who didn't attend, and you go through some form of outreach process, which allows you to book in a meeting to understand the state of play. And we knew a lot of people that were attending this webinar weren't in a position to have a phone call to purchase, right, any technology. And it's just the reality of the situation we're in. While we like to believe that technology is the silver bullet for this pandemic, doesn't mean companies have the budget. So we did not call. We had a no call policy, and we felt like it was quite intrusive and quite a nag to get people to call throughout this time. What I heard from a lot of the industry actually was that people who are calling are getting answered. Like, CMOs are picking up the phone and having conversations because I think they're just happy to talk to someone. And which we've been running as normal all through Zoom calls. And I saw a question come up around how do you still tell stories without face-to-face value? You can still do that effectively through digital. But we have taken a pause, and we are looking at starting back up, or we have just started back up to try and engage. And we're going to get a read on the market. If the market is not returning the favor, then we're going to slow down on the calls as well. But we did take a pause for about 3 months.
Right. Thanks, Billy. Bharat, how about you?
We haven't taken the pause yet. Fortunately, we have other verticals opening up in sports. So we tend to focus on newer verticals which are actually coming up. So we tend to probably look at sponsorship there, and the clients also want to engage digitally. So we haven't taken the pause, quite simply because India is a very complex market, and there are categories which are doing pretty well. And since Bangalore, for example, Karnataka as a market has opened up a month ago, and other states in India have actually opened up. We tend to focus on these geographies and see which are the clients which want to look at campaign management and look at digital campaigns. So we haven't taken the pause, quite simply because it is tough in the sports genre to take a pause. Yes, there are speculations about various sports, whether it's IPL, whether it's Pro Kabaddi League, whether it's happening or not. But there are other products that we actually sell, that is brand endorsement with various cricketers. So we haven't taken the pause, to be honest.
All right. Good to hear that. This is something positive. But yeah, I mean, different situations for different businesses, totally understandable. Apurv, how about you?
I like to think of the current crisis as a chicane in the Formula One track. So chicane is, for those of you who don't follow Formula One, it's a turn, it's a bend. And the difference between good drivers and average drivers is good drivers actually accelerate on a chicane. And the reason is, after a chicane, you have a straight ahead. It's a straight track where you can accelerate on. And this 1/10 of a second makes the difference between the first finish on a podium and the fifth finish on a podium. So COVID is nothing but a chicane for us salespeople who are really passionate about growing the business. And we've actually accelerated rather than taking a pause. So if you actually see the throughput of our sales and marketing teams and customer service teams, it's been phenomenal. And the motivation levels are at an all-time high. The connects with customers are very deep and very authentic. That whole posturing between a salesperson and a customer has really gone down. That wall between, he's trying or she's trying to sell me something has gone down. And we're actually connecting at a very, very humane, deeper level. So I don't think we've taken any pause, we've accelerated. And the energy is at an all-time high. So that's the silver or gold lining in this crisis for us.
Yeah, quite literally. And if I may also add analogy from cricket, this is like, because of bad weather, now we suddenly have the change. Duckworth Lewis is in play. Situation has changed. The roles would have to be changed. The batting order or bowling order would have to be changed. Everyone needs to move fast, think fast, change their strategy, still be able to finish the match and still go for that win. Nothing else is under control.
That's a brilliant analogy, and I think we are all pressing for the win.
Exactly. That's how it should be. Except for when it's India versus Australia. Would always love to see India win, but that's all right.
Go for it, mate. You can have the win.
All right. So then very important, this is for individuals, all of us, not only sales, but pretty general. What are the investments in self-learning or enablement that you guys as sales leaders recommend to your team? And also what, as sales leader, what would you do for your sales team to help them enable? And anybody can take this question up. This is,
Yeah, look, Vijay, we, I spoke before about quantity versus quality. We've been very focused on really understanding your territory. So while you want to accelerate around that turn, you want to make sure you're accelerating and you don't have any blind spots. And we've been very clear on which industries that we're targeting for short-term revenue and which industries we're putting back on the back burner. So when we talk about investment in sales or enablement or individuals, we're investing in the concept of value selling and value selling into specific verticals. So turning our sales reps into consultants in specific business problems. That's the first piece. The second piece is, we're looking at training on how people can deal with the pressures that the COVID environment's actually giving them. So things like, I guess it's really hard to be effective, and you feel like it's really hard to be effective in a current climate like this. So we're looking at resilience training, so how people can weather the storm. We're looking at online sales and digital training. So how do you run an effective sales process through Zoom calls? We're looking at gratitude training. So how to be, grateful, and, kind of had when I moved into sales, I looked at the quarterly pressures that we put ourselves in to hit these numbers. And the most effective sales reps that I saw were the ones that could balance the pressure with their personal life. So some of the training we're trying to bring in is how to practice, meditation as an example. So, how to be able to put yourself and be in the moment to be the most effective. So, it's a balance of effective sales training and then stress management and how to manage that training is where we're really trying to invest our time right now, because who knows how long we're going to be working from home without proper human interaction in a typical sales environment.
Awesome. Apurv, how are you taking the?
From a training perspective, we are doing multiple things. I think when you are interacting with clients and on phone or video calls or Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Google Hangouts, very small things like training people to always keep their cameras on. And the reason why you should always keep your cameras on is it focuses the customer on you. It also encourages the customer to keep their camera on so that you can read body language. 60-70% communication is non-verbal. So if you're not doing face-to-face calls and your camera is off and the customer's camera is off, pretty much you're flying blind. Or it's like two blind people trying to find a black elephant in a dark room. So small things like training sales teams to consciously keep their camera on. I think it also increases the attention and focus you can apply to the conversation if your camera is on. Second thing is, how do you actually move the conversation when the customer or the prospect could actually be very pessimistic about the business environment? It's like trying to engage and connect with someone and offer value when the person thinks the building is burning and it's doomsday. I'm trying to sell you a milkshake when the building is on fire. So how do you show a better future and how do you guide the conversation from doomsday to a better tomorrow? So by, empathy, like you cannot completely negate the customer emotions, but how do you very respectfully engage, share examples of what other customers are doing and portray optimism, energy, encouragement. So very, very consultative, but in a very empathetic manner without trying to sound like you're someone who's Mr. Know-it-all. So these are very soft nuances which we are encouraging people to do. And I personally think you can do classroom training for sales and you can do web-based training, but there is no substitute for on-deal or on-call training. And all the managers in the team, all the leaders in the sales team have to become trainers. That's the best way to develop sales teams. And it's all about details. So we're telling all the teams that 70 to 80% of the sales call is about the preparation, researching on the prospect, going on Twitter, going on LinkedIn, finding out what are they sharing, what are they liking, what are they engaging with. And that 70% of the preparation is going to result in success. So it's not that 1 hour call, it's the 4 hours, 3 hours you spend before the call preparing. That's never important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Bharat, how different is it for you? Or is it, usually, sorry, yeah, Bharat.
I think Apu hit the nail on the head. First thing is motivation. Everybody is kind of pessimistic about everything. One, you have to be motivated as a sales leader. Second is, as Apuva said, research. You could say on various, whether they are doing any campaigns, whether they're actually industry is growing. And the third aspect is to keep yourself physically very fit so that it helps in conveying the message, whether it's your body language, whether it's your positive attitude. So that actually conveys. And of course, empathetic listening has to be one of the ways that you as a sales leader need to be trained so that you don't talk too much, but you listen more.
Okay. All right, cool. So now before we move to the Q&A, there are a few questions here that we have from the audience. I had two quick questions for all of you. One thing that you would change in yourself as a sales professional, not as a sales leader, because as a sales leader, we do have changed a lot in our approach. And of course, but as a sales professional ourselves, if I was selling as an individual contributor, what is that one thing I would want to change in myself now?
I don't think it's about changing. I think it's what you prioritize. And the guys just hit this one, and they spoke about it a lot. But if you're going to pick up the phone or send an email to someone who works at a media and publishing business or in a travel industry, whatever the industry may be, understand the situation, read their current financials front to cover, understand the CEO strategy, understand the trends that are happening in the industry, and understand how you can help them solve that problem. So you go with an opinion and you go with a perspective. There's nothing worse than picking up the phone and just trying to hit a number saying, oh, I booked a meeting. So it wouldn't be about changing. It would be about prioritize adding value in every conversation you have with someone, because right now is the time for those people to shine, and for the phonies who are just literally there to pick up a phone and dial and book a meeting to fade into the background. So that's what I would do.
Right, Apurv.
One thing which I'm trying to change about myself is I'm trying to be more fit. I think pre-COVID times, I was on the road 3.5 weeks a month. So one day in Jakarta, second in Tokyo, third in Dubai. And it's been like that for almost 20 years. So I'm trying to use this time to become more disciplined, so that even when things become normal, I continue with that discipline. We always say that all it takes is 22 days to create a habit. So I've been trying to join the 5 a.m. club. So get up at 5, go for a run, picking up cycling. And that's a massive change for me because, as business development leaders, sales leaders, commercial people, our lives are always very interesting, very challenging. And there is, all kinds of pressure which a normal salesperson goes through. So you can only extend your life as a business development commercial leader, and you can do great things for your company and your team if you are very fit. So that's what I'm trying to change about myself.
Great. Bharat, what about you?
I think I would second Apurva. Last 3 months have been a blessing in disguise. I have actually become, you could say, 7 kilos lighter, and have become very fit when compared to, you could say, March 10th to June 10th. So that has been one of the changes. And I foresee in the future to probably look at a more consultative approach, look at asking more open-ended questions, and listen more.
Right. Great tips there. And now moving on to an honest confession. You miss traveling, business travel?
I do, completely. I can't, wait to get out, catch a flight, go meet customers, play a round of golf with them, take them out for drinks. I think I miss the adrenaline of travel.
How about you, Billy?
I lived a very similar lifestyle, mate. I was on a flight a lot, and having 2 kids under 3, I'm quite comfortable being home with the kids. However, some of the things that Apurva was talking about before around coming to the Yarra Valley and hot air ballooning and taking clients out, I definitely miss the banter and the camaraderie. And I think a business flight sometime soon will be on the agenda the moment we can open up the borders.
Yeah, but pretty much same thought for everyone. Bharat, I'm sure. Except for commuting in Bangalore traffic, everything else would you?
Bharat is quickly checking around whether his family is around or not before he answers that question.
Yeah.
I do miss the travel and of course the stadium experience. Nothing comes close to it. I do miss a lot because you could say that crowd experience which you actually could listen to and feel the energy if you go to a Chinnaswamy Stadium or let's say Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. Of course, we do. So we hope to see whether the IPL would happen in India with probably open audiences. not closed stadiums.
All right. So you just dropped the hint. Thanks for that, Bharat. All right. So now I think we'll quickly take up the question that I have. So one, and I'll start in that order. One question is, as salespersons and marketers, we are used to storytelling in person. Suddenly there's a shift to digital. So how do we as sales leaders embrace this change? Would you still prefer your team going out, traveling, meeting the clients, or you will now filter or qualify accordingly? Billy has answered, and I'll read his answer. Yeah.
I can explain that if you like.
Yeah, I'll read it out. Storytelling can still be effective through digital. We use a screen mirroring technologies and a simple methodology called demo to win.
Yeah.
You want to tell us quickly more about it?
Yeah, I mean, you can still run effective discovery calls through Zoom, and we've found that recently through getting people on a call. It's actually been a lot easier. So we're having a lot of open conversations, direct conversations. Everyone's, very flexible with where they're at. And then when we do run storytelling or presentations that are driving business value, we use either some pretty nifty screen mirroring technologies. So you can still show what you're trying to show on your screen, but highlight certain areas so it's a little bit more visual. And we use a methodology called demo to win. So the philosophy behind it is anything that you're going to be demonstrating, you need to tell the customer what you're going to show them. You need to show them an example of it, and then you need to tell them why it's important. So you're circling back, and it's just a form of validation and making sure that they're aware that it's going to solve the objective that they told you in that discovery call. But you can still while face-to-face is always better. I feel like these virtual calls are very much more structured, and you're getting a lot more people to attend.
Yeah, good point there, Billy. Yeah, Apurva, you have something to share with us.
I think when you do in-person storytelling, you engage almost 3, 4, 5 senses. And virtually, it's just 2 senses. So you need to basically take your game up a couple of notches. It's harder to hit the sweet spot in the cricket bat. But I think what you need to do is really, really be very thoughtful and be very creative in the way you do sales calls. Like, what can you tell the client which he or she has never heard earlier? Because they're meeting a lot of vendors every day. We're trying to reach them on LinkedIn, emails, messages, WhatsApp. And, WhatsApps and LinkedIn emails, from being intrusive, have down road become unimaginably intrusive now, because that's the only way which vendors can reach across to you. It's almost like you're sitting in your living room, which is your laptop, and you have 15 salespeople all around you trying to sell you. Imagine the cacophony. And if you imagine that, it makes you become far more thoughtful about your customer. And I think the trick is to, in every sales call, tell him or her one remarkable thing which they don't forget. You have to have a single sales objective for the call. The call can't be about trying to get 4 or 5 things done. So I think prioritization of the sales message in the call has never been more important, and telling it in a very interesting, remarkable fashion so that the customer remembers it, appreciates it, and goes and passes that message to 5, 6 people. My industry is enterprise sales. We do B2B sales. We work with large corporations. Most of the decision making is actually done by committees and a group of people rather than one individual people. So how do you actually tell an interesting part of the story in a manner in which the customer remembers it and shares it has become very critical.
All right, great. Bharat, would you want to add, or there are more questions we can
Yeah, we can take more questions.
Okay, so then we'll start with you on this one. there's a question which says marketing has always been a mix of brand building and sales support. So one part of the table says it's ideal time to rebuild the brand. The other says, let's just go out and sell. So which one, like, what do you think? And
Right now, I think it's, you could say, it tilts more towards brand building and being more empathetic on one side rather than hardcore selling. So as of now, in the present environment, it is better to look at brand building, as Billy pointed out. Very insightful things that they did. Look at things like that. And once the environment is much better, you could perhaps look back into, you could say, increasing the percentage of selling. Right now, it could be probably 80-20, and probably post-COVID, once things are better, you could look at increasing the sales.
cool. So it's like while closure is extremely important for all of us to get the business, but it's not that something that we should be only focusing upon. I mean, throughout the conversation, that's what we have been talking about and sharing our thoughts around it. Building that relationship, being understanding, showing empathy, being involved in that discovery stage rather than coming to closure is a general priority for all good sales leaders, I would say. There is an interesting question, very relevant. So when the customers in today's date or prospects, they start to ask for free services or discounted services, as a sales rep, how do we negotiate this? And this is a very practical question. We all face it today. How do we?
We've just had that. It's common. If they're an existing customer and they're saying, like, we've had lots of clients say to us, in particular, travel and hospo, we can't reach our commitment of where we're at today, and we want to do right by them. So we are finding ways to negotiate something that's acceptable because we still need to keep business operating. When you've got a prospect or a customer telling you they want something for free, our mantra is quite simple. Loyalty is a two-way street. So we ask for other commitments. So, okay, we can give it to you for a discounted rate, but instead of signing a 12-month contract, you'll sign a 24-month contract. Okay, you can have it with a discount, but we want you to pay up front because that means we can bank the revenue. You've just got to be strategic as to how you commercialize the model so it's still beneficial for both parties. I've never been a fan for giving someone something for free because they don't appreciate it and they just expect it all the time. So you're training them to want something for free. So no, that's a no-go.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's very insightful and pretty relevant for all of us because we do face it every week. Apurv, you want to add something or we have another question?
Yeah, so the way we look at discounts is it's a reality. And, the request could be discounts or it could be changing the payment terms and giving them more flexibility. Or it could be freezing the contract for some time. The request could be in many forms. The first is to understand the client situation, understand, is the business really impacted, or are some clients being opportunistic and asking you for that? Because some countries are still open, work is still happening. The second is to share with the client that we are also going through a difficult time. And ultimately it's a partnership where both have to support each other to win. And then, as Billy mentioned, basically figure out what can you give in return if you're giving the discount. So can you take the contract term from 1 year to 3 years term with no termination for convenience? Can you put a CPI or a COLA inside the contract, which automatically increases the price by the WPI index by 5 to 6% every year? Can you do vendor displacement? If the client was working with 2, 3 vendors, can you take over all the work? So basically the trick is to figure out how do you create a win-win for both your company and the client, and don't make it a one-way street.
Yeah. Completely agree with you, Apurv. So one last question, and then we can wrap up. This is coming from Vinay, where he's asking that today FMCG brands are high on sales, some of the categories. So how can a sales guy reach out to the marketing leaders or the decision makers for selling or showing them the value? And they must be busy, they must be occupied, they have their own priorities. Is it a safe time for them to replace a technology? Will they have this as a priority, or how do you look at it?
The way I think of it, Vijayant, is all of us, whether it's Bharat, you, me, Billy, and any of the 90 odd salespeople who are on the call, doesn't matter what product category or service category you are in, ultimately there are 3 things which we can do. One is you can reduce the cost of the customer's product or service, and that's a value. The second is you can help him make more money by your products or services. And email marketing falls there, value-added services, digital marketing falls there, celebrity endorsement falls there. And the third thing is, how can you reduce his time to market? Which means how can you help him go to market faster? And the fourth is, how can you really, really help him re-engineer his business model to be very, very disruptive and innovative, or be a quality leader? So basically, if you simplify all the things we buy or sell in the world, they have one of these 4 use cases they cater to. And the trick is to, if you can show ROI, it's very easy to get a call with any board member, CEO, forget about the CEO. So if you want to reach across to any of these FMCG companies and your service can help them gain market share, reach out to new customer segments, increase the market basket mix, which means if I had 10 products and only 2 were being bought by customer, can I increase the market basket mix size? It's going to be very, very easy to get time.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, if you look, everything you touched on there was 100%, right? Those 4 things that you kind of talk about is that's completely aligned with the way you need to demonstrate value. And I think FMCG, to your question, I wish I could have the conversation with you right now, but industry trends in FMCG are very, very different right now. They are reaching astronomical sales. The problem with FMCG is that they do not own the consumer relationship unless they have a direct-to-consumer channel, right? They own the brand, but they distribute and sell the brand through retailers, through merchants. So they don't necessarily own the relationship with the end consumer. And that's the biggest challenge for FMCG brands. When you think of a wine business, they sell wine through a Woolworths or a Coles. They are relying on Woolworths and Coles to sell their products. So how can you build a relationship with the end customer? If you can help FMCG brands know their customer, add value to the buying process, and repurchase and get them to repurchase with them, then you've got a reason for an FMCG brand to speak with you. If you can't, then you're just adding noise to their inbox.
Bharat, any specific observation you would have in dealing with FMCG?
Sorry.
FMCG usually have celebrity endorsement as part of their long-term game, and considering the kind of high turnover sales that they have achieved, they definitely have a lot more marketing dollars to spend with A, celebrity endorsement, and B, as Apurva just mentioned, if any product or service can solve those 4 ideas, it definitely falls into their long-term as well as short-term thinking. And especially now, if they can look at point of sales as one of the primary problems that they can solve, then it is a definite time to actually approach them.
Agree. Well, I think within time, and it's 12 sharp. So must be ending this by definitely thanking all of you, the speakers, the attendees on a weekday. Really appreciate, guys. I hope you found it good enough. We'll continue the series. Feel free to connect with any of us directly on LinkedIn or Twitter. More than happy to share our experiences as sales professionals. Thank you and have a good day and a good week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Vijayan, Billy, Bharat, and all the audience. Vijayan, you were a fantastic host, and thank you for organizing it.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.